Yes, we are. We are live now.
Hey guys, we are back now live, joined, connected via StreamYard. Thank you so much for joining us again. And our apologies for the hiccup. Technology did not allow us to connect directly via Facebook together. But thank you so much that you will connect with us shortly. Rumbi and Muchada, how are you guys?
Yeah, we're doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're great.
We are 15 years, and we can you can tell the difference between 25 and 15, right? You see glasses where there's 25, where there's 15, you see Spider-Man glasses and straws.
Right?
I love that. Thank you guys so much for accepting to be with us again. We've had you before on Further Together, and this is the second time you coming, and it's always a pleasure to have you on this broadcast. So thank you so much for accepting to come on the platform.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
And how have you guys been since our last meetup on social media?
I think we've been fine. We've been good, haven't we?
Yeah, no, we've been good. Yeah. Can't remember when it was though. You know, time flies.
Yeah, that's true. It's been long, yes.
Yes,
However, it doesn't, when you're busy, it doesn't look like it has been a long time. It's only the days that we see on Facebook that let us know that it's been a while. I must say, you guys, you are leaders in the community. You are also leaders in the army of the Lord. So when you're looking at you, we are seeing people who are being used by God to do great works, and we do desire. If it was a homo composition, we'll give it the title "When I Grow Up, I Would Like to Be." So you are our goals. You are other couples' goals out there when we are seeing you. Hence, we have decided to invite you on this platform. So it is such an honor to have you, such powerful people within the community and powerful people in the body of Christ.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So you know what? I just wanna. I know there are some people who have the very same question, like the one which I have. A few days ago, some days or so ago, we saw a picture. I don't know where was that. Probably we were still at UZ, or it was in somewhere in Zimbabwe, I suppose, where you were dressed like young. You look very young there. Probably your teens.
And you're wearing your cap on the side.
I must. Yes, go on.
Yeah, that was at UZ.
Yeah, I must admit, it's I've never seen Rumbi Muchada in that kind of
swag.
That swag.
Oh gosh, I can't remember which one was that. Was that the one on the bike or the?
No, that picture. It was by the gym because Muchada always used to go to the gym, and I used to go and pick him up at the gym sometimes, or I'll just sit and wait for him. And so that picture was by the steps outside the SU at UZ on the steps. And then there were those men who used to go around taking photos because there was a cameraman. So took a photo and then you'd pay for it. So I think that was the day, and I was wearing his clothes. So that short.
Okay, that explains it, because it was all baggy and
Yes.
Yeah, even up to now, she still steals my clothes, so that hasn't stopped.
No, that is beautiful.
Yeah, and what are the memories now looking 25? No, more than 25 years later. That picture, we don't say 25. It's now more than. What are the memories that you can derive from that picture?
Well, I think for us, UZ was it's where we met. So I think we've got a lot of memories there. I always say that I was her inspiration for coming to UZ. Because she came on an open day when she was in sixth form, and she just happened to see a guy standing near the stand there, and UZ.
Yeah.
So she came along. I think a friend of ours sort of introduced us, and then from there. So it was really just quite a lovely moment seeing her for the first time there, and we ended up both being at UZ for some time. So so there were lovely moments at UZ together in our sort of courtship days of our relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then from there you got married and you are living together, and fast forward now, we are celebrating 25 years. How has the journey been? Has it been, like we met at UZ, happily ever after, and Muchada and Rumbi we are seeing right now? Or, there were some dots along the way that you may want to connect us with?
So I'll probably connect some of the dots. I liked the speech that my brother gave for our anniversary, and he said, I've been watching your journey, and he put it into 3 phases. And his first phase was very difficult. So the first stage of our courtship days were lots of fun, and then in the final year of uni, so our wedding, it was like a shotgun wedding. We were not ready to get married, and we had our son, a precious gift from God, and such a lovely young man now, 25. So if you do that, we had a baby, and then we got married, and then I was coming to England, so we came. He had plans to come to England. I didn't, but ended up coming here together. So I think the first few years were really hard, because settling in England with perhaps having to let go of some of your dreams. So for me, I had my own dreams of being a solicitor, being a lawyer, and coming here, I felt like I had taken 1,000 steps back, because I had to do care work, factory work, whatever came. So those years, the first few years of our marriage, I think maybe 10 years, were really challenging, because we had a lot of conflict and of resentment and blaming. Why did you bring me to this country? That was what I kept saying.
Why did you bring me here?
Yeah, so it was difficult, and I think everyone thought it was the biggest mistake, and we weren't going to last. Everyone was just worried about us, and we had health challenges and so many challenges. And then the second phase of our marriage was good. We were progressing in business and things like that, but we still had some tension between us, where we were learning how to work as a team, where we were very different. So we I felt that we were not suited. So we had some tension during those years. We even separated. It wasn't long, but one of us, I think I used to say this a lot, that I don't think we're supposed to be together, because there are things that I want in my life and you don't seem to. So I'm not going to settle. I wasn't going to settle. I wanted to hard, and Muchada was a bit more laid back than me. So I think those years were again full of tension. And then the third phase, which he said was, he's watched us grow together. He's watched us reaching a stage where we have learned how to work together as a team, where we've learned how to complement each other, where we've learned to understand each other's strengths, each other's weaknesses or development areas, and we've been able to cover each other and really work in sync. So that, I think, has been the journey, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So it hasn't been all smooth sailing.
Rosy. Yeah.
actually been quite dramatic at times.
Now, you know, we always say this, for those that are not aware, you guys and us share anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
So, which is a beautiful thing when we got to find out that you were also married on the same day as us. And
no, we were married as the same day as you, because you were married first.
Yeah. So you guys are 10 years our seniors. And it's such an amazing thing when you get to share your experiences with us. Now, these 25 years, which you have mentioned that you've obviously had to jump over the hurdles, you've had challenges. And one of the things that we've had you mention was your time of separation. Now, looking back at a few weeks back when you had your 25th anniversary, and people are seeing you loving on each other, beautiful, everything was just on point. And, you know, one wonders, like, what happened? How did you arrive at that place where Rumbi said she was like, Muchada, out, like, I'm kicking you out? How did you arrive there?
Yeah, so I think with what Rumbi mentioned earlier on, it's I mean there were some health challenges which I had, and also there was challenges in terms of where we felt our lives were heading, and that was causing a lot of tension, a lot of friction, and I think because of the frustration that had been built up the first 6 or 7 years or so of our relationship, you know, there comes a time when you think, you know what, this just wasn't supposed to happen. Yeah. So all of that tension that I built up was like, you know what, let's just go our separate ways. And so yeah, so I left, and in that time it was a time of, I think it was a time of reflection, but initially we were quite angry at each other. And we thought, you know what, you know, I'm not going back. I'm not going to ask him to come back.
I don't want it no more.
Yeah, it took a good friend of ours, which you guys know also, Jamie and Nyarai Garande. You know, Jamie and Sarah Garande, they talked to us on an individual basis, and they said, you know what, you guys, marriage isn't easy. And, you know, couples go there, they've been there before, but you have to try and work at, you know, whatever it is. So through that, we then, you know, took the steps to then get back together again. And that's when we really started working on our marriage. But also that was the time when we were starting to know God also, to allow God to our marriage, because we were a very young married couple, but we didn't really know the Lord. Although we grew up in Christian families, we didn't really know God. So I think that then enabled us to start that journey of reconnecting and allowing God to come into our marriage.
Wow, it's quite unbelievable if you are looking from where you are now. And I think it's a word for those who are, you know, just newly married, that sometimes as we grow, you know, we go through ups and downs, and we just have to have, we only the Jamie and Sarah who will come to us and, you know, bring us
to our
back.
rescue.
And one question probably would be, as a Christian couple right now, how are you handling your conflicts? So much such that you won't do the things that you did last time. Oh, I'm fed up now.
I'm out of here.
We are seeing the smiling Rumbi and the smiling Muchada. How are you handling it?
Yeah, so I think handling our conflict, one of the things that we've had to work on in our marriage is communication. Also conflict resolution. So that's where we are very different. So I remember doing this course on resolving conflict and type of what type of person you are in terms of how you resolve conflict. I'm that rhino. I'm that person who wants to get in there and finish everything, and you're not going to sleep until tapezerana, or, you know, we're not finishing this. But him, he was more like an ostrich, somebody who wants to just avoid conflict.
That's me. Yeah.
In a family of 5, so if we had problems at home, our parents would say "Pedranai." So finish yourselves, you'd fight. But there were only 2, and so they didn't actually have that much conflict. But also they're just different. I mean, I'm a Karanga, he's a Samanyika. I'm a Shumba, he's a Humba. So we're different. And so we had to learn now how to live with each other's differences. We had to learn how to communicate effectively with each other. So when we have something that we need to talk about or something that we're not agreeing, I think instead of avoidance or instead of coming out strong, we've now learned that we put things on the table, we set a proper time to talk about things, and we have to go somewhere, perhaps even just to Starbucks or somewhere or take a drive just somewhere, and have a space where we can talk, but we set times. So Muchada doesn't like talking early in the morning because he says it will set his whole day. He doesn't like talking before he goes to sleep because he says then he won't sleep. So I have to we have to slot the time in so I can talk anytime and I can go to sleep. So we then have to usually around lunchtime. So we set times to say, okay, when are we going to talk about this? And then we sit down, we talk about it. But I think another thing before I let you add something, because I talk a lot as well. So
I know.
When we've got an issue, so whoever's holding the tissues or whoever's holding something, you are the one who's allowed to talk. And then when you finished, you give it to the other person and they are able to say their piece and to talk, so that we listen to each other, because sometimes you can talk over each other when you've got conflict, and it's very difficult to really hear what the other person is saying. And I think one of the key things in our communication is to repeat back and say, are you saying this? Am I hearing this? Because sometimes you can hear what the other person isn't saying. Having a conflict, it can be because you're actually not understanding each other. So I think the most important things were learning how to communicate with each other, and then learning how to resolve conflict, and in a way that the other person can receive it, in a way that the other person can understand what you're saying. So yeah, I think those are some of the nuggets, the key things.
And I think just to probably add to that, one thing that really helped us, combined with all of what Rumbi said, is actually appreciating our differences and knowing that our differences are not something that, it should complement us as a couple. So it's now looking at, there's certain strengths which Rumbi will bring to the table, there's certain strengths I will bring. And when we now actually use that together, as opposed to saying, you're too fast, or you want to do things too quickly, or you're too slow, you want to be too meticulous, it's now actually seeing how to fuse those together and validating and allowing that, you know what, you've got something really great that you're contributing to the relationship. I've also got something really great, and not to put each other down on things which we might think you're too much or you're too much. So we had to learn that, because before we'd just clash, we'd just see our differences as things that we attack one another about, and not actually see them as being positive things that we can bring into the relationship.
This is so enlightening already. We feel enriched, and we are just looking at ourselves in this whole picture. How well are we doing communication wise when it comes to conflict resolution? And I hope you guys are doing just the same and allowing each other time. If you're watching, allowing each other time to talk. And it's quite amazing that it is the same with every couple, that you are different. The same Kudzi and I are different. And, you know, sometimes you're like, oh, why are you like this? But I like what you're saying, that it's about complementing and appreciating the difference, and the difference is that each person is bringing to the table. Yeah. Now, there's a video that went viral. I'm sure a lot of us would have watched it, of Gabriel Union, an actress. And she spoke about how she and her husband, who earns a whole lot more than her, how they are on a 50-50 financial responsibility. And many people were sharing their perspective. How can a man, you know, go 50-50 with their wife? And, you know, it's
2023.
You know, so you guys have been married for 25 years. You know, give us your thoughts on sharing financial responsibilities. How has it been for you guys, so we can learn?
Yeah, so we were taught something really, really powerful in church Zayoja when we were going to Zayoja. It was one of the pastors that was there, and said, I'll say it in Shona, Rati Maria Inazita. So money has no name. And the key thing he said to us is, regardless of who's earning what, whoever's earning more, whoever is earning less, what's really important is that you put your money together in one pot. And from there, that's when you now sit down together and say, look, this is the budget for the family. These are the outgoings, you know, this is what we need to pay. This is a target for the month, for the year, whatever it is. And then you you know, pay the appropriate bills that way. So for us, that was something that really helped and shaped us in terms of finances, knowing kuti, you know, Maria Inazita. So you might be there as a resource, and that resource is to equip you guys as a couple, equip you guys as a family. So it shouldn't be someone's earning more, someone's earning less. Of course, it's important for both husband and wife to pull their weight in whatever respect it is, but it won't always be balanced all the time. But when it now comes to the resource that's there for the family, it gets put together. So that's one key thing that really helped us to, you know, resolve Jemari.
Yes. Rumbi, comment on that, please.
Yeah, so I think that that teaching is something that we took in. But I think before that, one of the other things is about vision. So we see money as a resource. We don't see money as a tool of control or anything like that. So we have one common vision, and we know where we're going as a family and what we use the money for. So it's a lot of, but that's growth. And I think that's where we are now. And even from the place where we were taught about money not having names, it helped us when we had RBM solicitors, and I earned initially before Muchada joined us. I remember in our first months, all of a sudden we had so much more income, and he was still a teacher. Then he left teaching and came to work with me. But still, I was earning a lot more, and we were using the money together. And one of the things that I perhaps never did was to take control of the finances. But that's because we trusted each other. I think we had a strong foundation. So, we managed our money together. But underlying, there was a sense of resentment on my part, being honest, because I felt like, I'm earning all this money, and I felt a sense of resentment because I was working very, very hard. He was working, but he was working very hard, but I couldn't see or appreciate what he was, because I was the one who was doing like the fee earning. He was doing all the management, project management, so much work that was not like acknowledged or thanked, for, but he was contributing so much. And there was no way that RBM solicitors could have ever stood without Muchada's contribution. But at the time, there was a lot of conflict around that. And when tables turned, because now we own different businesses, so there's less pressure on me as our income from law. There's income from social care, from what we do, what he runs and what I support him. There's other income. So when you have more money coming in from different sources, it does release the pressure. So it's not so much of fighting over money, but I think that it's better when the man is earning more and paying the bulk of the bills. I don't think it should ever be 50-50. I think as women, we're created to be earning more or bringing in more money.
To be helpers. We want to help.
The truth, we want to help. And the truth is this, we do so much. We always have this argument with our children. And my daughter, our daughter, she's vocal. She says, because mom, as women, we carry the babies. We give birth. We do we do a bulk of the household chores. We do a lot more. So if on top of that, we are now earning 50-50, you are no. So I think it should be that the man is the head of the house, especially around that area of money. And us as women, we are supporting, and ours is extra, and we're doing. I think for me, that works better because me, I'm the one. I honestly had so much resentment. I'm being honest. I don't even want to lie. I would sometimes, get him sleeping, and I would be
like you're going to you know what? One thing we love about you guys is your transparency. You are honest, true, you're authentic, you just bring it as it is. And this is what liberates a lot of marriages. Now, how are you guys managing to still stay connected now that you are financially free? You know, you did put a post up there, and Rumbi, you shared of a letter I think you wrote to God, and you were saying your prayers about wanting to be financially free.
Yep.
And now 25 years later, you're at that space where you're owning multiple businesses. Now, what we see quite a lot with some couples is that the bigger they get financially, the more divided they're getting. Marriages are just breaking. Yep. And if it's a man is thinking, you know what, I think I'm gonna go find myself.
I need a small chick.
I need a small chick to spend the money with. You know, all of these things. Guys, how have you managed that?
You know, it's it doesn't come easy, and it doesn't come by mistake. I think one key thing is you have to be intentional. And with anything, whether it's business, whether it's career, you know, if you work hard at something, that's when you start reaping the rewards. Yeah. So in your marriage, you can't just be laid back and think it's going to happen. I think that's so important. So I think for us, the beautiful thing is that we really get along. You know, we enjoy the same things. We laugh at the same jokes, and we like each other's company, you know. And I think that was just a divine God connection, because there was love at first sight. She saw me and she thought, what? I saw her, and I thought,
yes, Mkoma, say that again.
You know, we saw each other and we were like, yeah, I think so. But even in that, we spent a lot of time just chatting, talking, and we saw that we connected. And fortunately, that's just continued on in our marriage. You know, we love doing things together, and that's helped us. So when we go for a walk, when we go for picnics, or when we go on holiday, or when we go and watch a movie, we just love doing it together. And I think that's really, really just helped us. And, you know, we only thank God for that He helped us divinely connect together.
And I think to add on to that, I think is that we've grown together. So we've grown together from a young age. Yeah. Everything that we've built together. And what we've also done is we've kept Jesus at the center. I think we underestimate the power of having a relationship with Jesus. So not being religious, not just going to church, but having that relationship with God. So when you fear God, you are convicted. So if I can never control what Muchada does, he can never control what I do. So if he decides that he's going to go and find a small house somewhere, God will convict him. Because we're praying for our marriage, when we're praying over our finances, that this will bring us joy. That we always pray and speak into our lives. John 10:10, that God give us life and give us life in abundance. So if we have abundance in our finances, that shouldn't come and bring sorrow in another area. And we intentionally pray about that, but we also spend, like what you said, a lot of time together. Even just to go to Tesco, we are always together, and it's not because anyone is controlling or kuchengera umwe, but we genuinely enjoy each other's company. I don't like doing things like going for girls' weekends. Everybody laughs at me, Kuti. How come you don't list on the girls' trip? And I say, no, because when I'm at the girls' trip,
I miss my guy.
I'm FaceTiming. Hi, look what we're doing. Look. So every time I'll be thinking, but it's not because we want to control each other. It's literally bandene brugu, because we want to be
Solona Mutsai.
So we spend money together. We go on holiday with our kids. We travel. We explore. So we do things that edify us, and our children are also part of the crew. So when we're together, we can go anywhere, like with the kids, and just go for a walk or anything simple. It's never even just about it's playing a game of cards together. It's sitting and eating together. When we just are together, all of us, we enjoy being together. We enjoy the company. We are so so I think we do enjoy it with our kids. And one of the things that we do now is all of our children, all three of them, they're involved in the business as well. So we're every aspect of what we do, our children are involved. We're training them, we're empowering them, so they know the finances. They look, they do the invoicing, they do casework. Like our son, the middle one, studying law, so he does. He's got his own caseload. He's training. Our eldest, he works with dad. He's a social worker, so he works with young people. Our daughter, she helps in every aspect. So everything that we do together. So I think that helps us to stay together, because everyone has seen, even when we had RBM solicitors, the children used to sleep at work. They never had holidays. Summer holiday, they were at the office. So they've watched every step of the way. So doing things together, it brings a unity, it brings a sense of purpose. And so we are, I think I'm talking a lot, but
this is good stuff. Good stuff.
I like the doing things together, including the children. The further together in every aspect of life. Only in relationships. There's a balance there. I must, however.
Oh, you wanted to read that? There you go.
Somebody says that's where the bond comes from. I must somehow say, what I heard Rumbi saying, as mothers, we do a lot. We carry the children, being pregnant and all this stuff. And I always argue and I say, I've been carrying these children for more than 20 years, and I never complained. You are carrying the child for only 9 months.
You're recycling them. They come and go.
Taking a detour though, 25 years being together, what we have seen is, with many couples, there is a decline in sexual intimacy. You have 2 beds,
Division,
that kind of a thing. How is it with you, and how have you managed to sustain you know, being together, having.
Yeah, and if I piggyback on that,
go on, babe. I know I'm talking about sex. You like this one too much. It's all
you
yours.
know what? Let me be honest. This has been, I've had this fear, you know, growing up, this fear of, you know, once we grow and get old, how is this thing going to be? You know, how are we going to sustain this sexually? So, guys, 25 years is a long stretch with the same woman. You know how? She says, "Come on, Rumbi, tell us."
I think it gets better with age. So don't.
You'll be okay.
You'll be okay.
Go deeper. Go deeper.
I think one of the things that we were talking about this morning, actually, we were just talking about, I wonder what we're going to say tonight. So one of the things that for us, when we first met, there was a lot of chemistry. We were just attracted to each other it was infatuation at first sight, isn't it? We were attracted to each other.
Hence why the child.
Hence the child. So there was always chemistry between us. But one of the things has been that we've had to be intentional. So like with everything in your marriage, things just don't happen. So we've had to be very, very intentional about it. And one of the things that we learned, because we did a lot of marriage courses, we thought we were doing them to support other couples, but in fact, it was helping us. And one of the courses we did, we learned about sexual intimacy, and we were taught to pray about it. So that was something that was new for us. We were taught to pray about it. And this one, every time I have a headache, he's busy laying hands on me to be healed in Jesus' name.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were taught to pray about every aspect of our life, because God loves intimacy in marriage, and sex is really important in marriage. So we pray about it, but we also started being intentional in the sense of talking about it. What are your expectations? So for him, what are his expectations? How many times a week? What things like? What things don't you like? What things? So having those really open conversations. And for me, what is it that you like? How many times? What's good for you? And then compromising, but being at a space where you actually make time. So especially when you've got small children, there's different stages in life. Like for us now, most empty nesters, our children are, the youngest is 17. So we have a lot more time. But you've got young children, and you've got to actually schedule it in to say, this is important for our relationship. So we have that. What are your shifts? Because these days, people might be doing shifts that clash, so you don't see each other. So you have to be intentional. You have to say, when are we going to meet? When are we going to have sex? When are we going to do it? And make sure that you make it a priority, because it's important for both of you, and to be able to put it in, to say, you know what, just like this is, we have to make sure that every week we sleep in the same bed, we have intimacy, how many ever times you think is reasonable for you, because every couple is different. But I think opening those lines of communication, and we even say we're neglecting our sex life. Sometimes we say we're neglecting our sex life. We've got to make it a priority. So let's work on it. So I think with every single aspect of your marriage, it's being intentional, it's having good open communication. And one thing for us that we always pray for is that we would not defile our matrimonial bed. So when you defile bed and you bring in third parties, then it becomes really difficult to be intimate, because you're now bringing in so many other emotions. And so it's that we constantly we pray about it, that Lord help us, that we wouldn't defile, we don't leave anything to chance, and we pray about those things that are important for us.
Yeah, and just to add to that. I think something that we learned when we were doing our courses is about love languages. And, you know, we need to really take hold and value how our wife or husband receives love. So that's so important, because, you know, when we can get to that stage where we are appreciating our wife, maybe she loves gifts, maybe she loves words of affirmation, maybe she loves acts of kindness or service. So all of that builds into your sex life, because when you appreciate somebody in a way that they want to be loved, you know, when you make them a cup of tea and they're grateful for that in the morning, or when you make him his breakfast in the morning that he loves, or when you reassure him and say, you're my man, you know, you're doing well, you know, I'm so proud of you, how you're running the business, how you're helping the family. So when you now really love each other in a way that builds your spouse up, then you know, bedroom, you know, it's much easier.
Yes.
Because now you appreciate loving each other. So that's something we have to work on. It's not going to be easy all the time, but the more that, then the more it then can improve, you know, in the bedroom in terms of sex life. So that's also very important.
And also to add, because I've gone through menopause, that's why I had to stop. I had to go in. I was having hot flashes.
Please go there, because it's one of my. I'm already calculating.
So I went through early menopause, and it affects people differently. Thank God it didn't affect me that much in the bedroom, but it affected me in my self-esteem and my size, my weight. So those are things where I have such insecurities about. But one of the things is that Muchada always encourages me in that area, like what you're saying. So tells me I'm beautiful, because he knows that my wife, she needs affirmation. She needs to be encouraged. You look great. You're sexy. You know, I'm so attracted to you. So he keeps on starving my fears and feeding me things that build me up, so that I feel confident and I feel good. And I think that helps, because when you don't feel good about yourself, you can then be even not want to be intimate, because you feel ashamed. And so understanding the different seasons, because there's childbirth and the trauma that comes with that, vaginal trauma, all of these things, and then there's menopause, there's different phases in life, and I think it's so important to understand each other. So
she says also address each other as babe, Han, sweet.
Oh yes.
Not ungoti baba ningi or my ningi.
my Tino every day.
Not
No,
my Tino,
that's
yes,
true.
absolutely, yeah.
So I think those are all important. It's not just about what happens in the bedroom.
Yeah, this one's called Chalky. So that's her name.
I love that. Hey.
You know what? I always say, if affirmation, if love language is going to open that sexual intimacy that I desire, then why not do it?
Exactly.
Just waking up and shower you with those words and everything. If that is going to light the fireworks in my bedroom, I would rather do that than being proud, being cocky, then go in the bedroom and I'm being starved.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You're the one.
You benefit.
and to Rumbi, more personal to you, I know you mentioned the issue of relocating, and there were some challenges. Now, fast forward to 2022, 2023, we have seen an influx of people coming from Zimbabwe to the UK, working here, and most of them are married. And I know, having heard you speaking on your channel, and you know, having spoken to pastors around here, that there's a challenge within those who are married. Sexual intimacy, there is no time for each other, all this stuff. What words of advice would you give to such who are relocating and those who are about to relocate?
Yes. Hey, this group is interesting, isn't it?
Yes, quite tough one.
They're also a different generation to us.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also, they've been through different experiences, but the principles, I think, remain the same. And I think it's that commitment to each other, and especially for the men, I think it's so important for them to come here knowing that this environment is different from home, because Zimbabwe is a very patriarchal society. Men are given a lot more, like they don't have to do a lot of things like housework and things like that. But when they come here, we have to help each other.
You work.
We have to. There's no one to help us. There's no domestic workers. There's no family members. There's no munongotuma. So you have to now do it all yourself. So it's important to understand that your identity or your value, especially as a man, is not attached to what you do in the home. If you're doing household chores, it doesn't mean you're less than of a man. If you're babysitting, if you're changing your children's diapers, it doesn't make you any less of a man. So I think one of the things for couples is to work together. Work together in everything. And money as well, it shouldn't get to your head, you know, because seasons come and seasons go. I think if you are the one who's on the visa, like you're the one, don't use that visa as a tool of control and manipulation, and use it as a to control people, because you know, like us women, we can be quite manipulative. We can say, you know, and I'll make you do what I want. So it's so important, again, not to use it, not to allow it to come in between you. A visa is only something that gives you a right to stay here. It's not it's just to give you the right to stay, and it's not to be abused. So love each other, please. Work together. Don't let money come between you as well, because money as well can come between you. And one thing that I've learned is, and we don't have any COSs, but we do sponsor people. So I'm just saying we don't have any.
Yeah.
But we do. And one of the things we say to people is, have a vision and have a plan. So even as a couple, when you're coming here, what is it that you want to achieve in the short term, in the medium term, and in the long term? What is it that you want to achieve? One of those things is maintaining your visa, because that visa is not forever. And so you want to be able to reach 5 years where you get indefinite leave to remain. So don't rush thinking that you want to buy the Range Rover, you want to build in Zimbabwe, you want to buy a house here. You want to do what others have taken 25 years to do in 2 years. Give yourself time. Allow yourself to have small goals that you achieve, like small targets, small goals, so that you're not putting pressure on each other and pressure on your spouse. And the other thing, the grass is not always greener outside. The grass is green where it's watered.
So that's true.
You don't compete with other couples, because yourself competing because this one is working at Elysium, they're earning more. Me, I'm working Kwamsiam, I'm not earning as much. Don't compete. You know, just what you and your family, what do you want to achieve?
Yes.
Have your vision. When you have your goals, when you know that, okay, in our first year, we want to rent a house. We want to put furniture in that house. We want to bring our children. We want to establish ourselves in our career, in the new role that we have, and we want to give our best. That is a lot of things to achieve. Give yourself time. So give yourself time. Don't compete. Work together. Nourish each other and support each other. And I think that's a lot of advice. But I think that those are some of the words I would say, definitely.
That is so profound. Did you want to say something, Muchada?
Yeah, I just wanted to probably just touch on the last bit that Rumbi was saying in that issue of comparison. So dangerous, because I think the first and most important thing that Rumbi said is, work towards that 5 years. And you be in a situation where you're a support worker, you're a care worker, and that's the visa that's brought you there. But 5 years' time, nothing stops you from now going back into that particular career, that passion that you loved, whether it's engineering, whether it's being creative, whether it's an accountant, or whatever it may be. So that 5 years, we've all had to go through stuff where we had to get to where we are to eventually be settled. And we've then been able to follow the path that we like. So I think that's so crucial, that have your vision, have your plans, that is 2 years, 5 years. And the beauty about in England, you can reinvent yourself at any time. You can go to uni at 30 years, 40 years old. It can be funded, and there's so many courses. So there's plenty of time to either get back into your career or find something new that excites you, that you've now discovered. I love to bake. The market is out there to do baking. Or I love to do graphic design, AI, or whatever it may be. So that 5 years will whiz by, and then you can then really step into, becoming more prosperous, becoming more successful, or just take that next step after the 5 years. So compete, you'll be fine.
You guys have nailed it. And the word of God says, if you've got ears, let the reader hear what the Spirit says to the people. So don't go buy a Range Rover and say, because these guys are driving range, and you go and do all these things on finance. And I like what you touched on, which confirms even us when we first came to the UK. I was once a traffic warden. Not many people know that. I did all kinds of jobs just to navigate and find my way in this country. Hallelujah. And I remember I was like, just 20 or 19 or 20, and people would look at me, and I was 19, and I was giving tickets. And people would look at me and say, what are you doing? And they would swear at you and say all kind of nasty things, like go back to school. But I knew what I wanted, and I knew I had a goal and a vision for my life. And Tricia says, very well said, like that statement, the grass may seem greener when we are looking with the envious eyes at the things we think we are lacking. But the truth is, you are uniquely you, and that is perfect. That is well said. And thank you so much for sharing that. Now we know that we have quite a lot of singles who follow us and who might be watching
and follow you as well.
And would love for you to speak to the singles. Some are feeling like, do you know what? There's so many fears, like I had when I was growing up, that there's nothing called happy marriages. People are just
faking it for social media.
You know what? So give a word.
Singles.
You can give it. You want me to give it? I like matchmaking people.
Yeah.
Love is a whole thing, and I want everyone to experience happy, healthy relationships. So what I would say to singles is don't compromise. Don't be desperate to get into a relationship, because if you see the red flags, there are probably reds, and it's better before you're married to someone, before you're committed. So know what you want. Know what it is that you want in a person. But more than that, I think it's make sure that you are also the right person for someone. So where you've got issues that you need to work on yourself, you might have anger issues, you might have insecurities, you might have issues that you need to make sure that when you are meeting the right person, you are also the right person for that right person. So working on your own self-development, on your emotional intelligence, on your self-awareness, knowing what things triggered you. And one of the things that our eldest son, he says is, I want to be able to love myself, to go on trips by myself. So he does solo traveling, and to be comfortable in my own company before I have to add someone to my life. Because if I add someone with my life thinking that person is going to complete me, I'm going to be disappointed, because no one do that or make you happy. So make sure that you are happy. You love yourself. You have self-love. You have self-awareness. You are comfortable in your own skin, in your own company. And then know what you want, so that a person who you are connecting with, it's not just an addition. It's not just for you're chasing money, you're chasing whatever. You're not having to chase anything, because you're complete. And that person is for companionship, or for, this is for older singles, but similarly for younger singles as well. That when you meet someone, be sure to know that it's the right person for you. And we learn a lot from our kids, from especially our oldest. He's 25, but he's like an old man. Like he's quite wise.
Yeah, he's a wise guy.
He's wise, because he says, we've taught them about looking at generational patterns. We've taught them at looking at people's families, people's backgrounds, praying into relationships, so that they can, when they're meeting the person, they're fully aware. Because I don't know I think it's a topic for another day. If you fall in love, because we were saying, are you falling just Are you actually thinking about it rationally and that are not so emotional, where actually are thinking? Because you can just fall for someone who it's a disaster, a train wreck, but because you feel those butterflies, then you end up with that person, but that relationship probably won't work, because you've seen all the red flags. So
and to Muchada, it will be to the single man who fears taking the step of commitment.
I think it's, relationship, marriage is something that's there to be enjoyed. And I think the fear of commitment sometimes is, we have this misconception that, if you're going to be in a marriage for a long time, you'll get bored. But if you now want to actually enter into a relationship, I want a fulfilling relationship. So if I'm going to get a fulfilling relationship, then I need to also make sure I work hard to make that relationship fulfilling. So, once you've worked on yourself, once you've, checked out and made sure that you feel this comfortably is the right person for me, remember, you're entering it in together. She's not going to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. But now, when you now commit to say, we're now joined together as husband and wife, we believe in the Bible, so you're also tied by a covenant with God. But even if you believe in that, it's still a commitment that you're making. Commitment is so important. And I think especially Generation Irko these days, where, they'll feel that if something doesn't work, we'll throw it out.
Yeah.
That's not life, and you'll never get full satisfaction, full happiness if you're going to just keep on thinking, I need to get the next model and the next model, So marriage is not like that. Once you commit into it, also work at it. And, hopefully those fears that you had of, oh, it's going to get boring, or, oh, I won't like it, or things won't work out. If you're working at it, it will hopefully then resolve, and you'll then be able to have a more, wonderful, fulfilling marriage. So that's what I was.
You know what? My belief is that there's a statement which says marriage is made in heaven. And I must say, even those that are made in heaven, they are worked here on earth for them to be successful.
Absolutely.
So if you are just thinking that Rumbi and Muchada, they met at UZ, love is first sight and everything. It's
and they lived happily ever after.
We want to take this opportunity to appreciate you two guys. We know that you have been quite busy today, but you wanted to share with us the 25 years later. So before I close, I just want you to give one word. 25 years later, this is what we are seeing to both of you. 25 years later, what comes after?
What comes after? Sorry, what's the question?
25 years later, I don't know, what would you want to put after these 25 years? What are we expecting 25 years after 25 years?
Some more 20, another 25 on top.
Yeah. And
we really pray for long life.
That's great. That's great.
Amen. Yeah. May God give you just that. You've got many marriages to save. You've got many lives to impact.
Many COSs to stand for.
And C says, thank you so much, Rumbi, for being there for our Zimbabwean community. You never tire, and your works will not go unnoticed. You guys are doing amazing. You know, you just touched briefly on your work. We know how much you're doing, guys, behind the scenes. Some of it does not go on social media. Only the tip actually comes there. Yep. But you guys are an answered prayer to many, not just Zimbabweans, but many people out there. And you guys are a couple that I think, you know, God brought you together for a reason. And thank God that the times you once separated, you did not call it quits, and that God has brought you back together. And here we have you on Further Together. Thank you so much for impacting us this evening.
Yes, and I must also say thank you very much and well done to Muchada. You know, there is nothing that intimidates a man than having a powerful woman. Somebody who is known there, and you're working underground. I must confess, I can't do that.
Listen, this is why you need a brother.
That's why I'm calling them. I need to learn them.
And now you are going for one-on-one.
Yes, one-on-one with
man
Papa.
Of God.
Yes, one-on-one with Papa.
Yeah. So you are booked.
On a very serious note, you know, a lot of men feel threatened when they see their wives going out there without knowing that they are carrying the name. They are flying the flag. Bvunzawabaya, they are flying the flag. Muchada out there,
and you'll be like, that's my wife.
Absolutely,
When I see Rumbi, I know that she is standing on the shoulders of a giant. Who is you, Muchada? To our viewers, what more shall we say apart from saying thank you so much for giving us your precious possession, which is your time. Noson Madzikatri says, Nanonoga, you're going for a punishment, what you used to do at school, right?
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much
for
me
us.
And my beautiful wife, Rumbi and Muchada. We are signing out. Till we meet again. God bless you.
Love
Bye
you.
for now. I love you.
Late. Okay. See you. All right.